Hearty fraternal greetings and good wishes to all the brothers and sisters who have gathered here as per the impulse coming from the innermost chamber, which we call the impulse of coming from the divine will. It is responded by personalities, so therefore we brought ourselves here with our soul, personality and the body. "30 years of work is no doubt a work of patience, but when we look at it in terms of the cycles of time and the cycles of time that personalities require to attune to the soul, it is considered to be a very small cycle. It is said in the scriptures that as man receives the first impulse to return from earthly life into light and from light into the source of light, from that impulse, from that point of impulse, till it joins the universal light, it takes 777 incarnations. Therefore, we can fairly say that it takes about 5,000 years for a personality to get attuned and to become a lighted personality, if not a dissolved personality, a personality that is dissolved into light. Light only functions as soul and as personality. That is what we call complete death. In the meanwhile, many times there is death to body, but each death to the body is not death to personality. But the personalities follow the soul until they are restructured, transmuted, transformed, and until they are filled with light and have become full of light, the program continues. In the meanwhile, we rejoice these small cycles of 30 years from the standpoint of the hierarchy. A period of 30 years is perhaps equal to 30 days. The measure, as our brother Gunter rightly pointed out, is the degree of transmutation, transformation, transcendence of one's own personality. The soul presides over personality, just like the light presides over a tower, which we call a lighthouse. When the personality is fully shifted from its shades into light, when there is no shade in personality, such personality can be called a lighted house and is also called a lighthouse. When we see a lighthouse, we see the light on the top, but we don't see that light in the tower. But in the case of a lighted being, the light is not only at the head, but also in the entire body, and the whole personality along with the soul shine forth and illumine the surroundings. That is what we see as our goal in the masters or in the adepts who are lighted personalities. They have personalities only for transmission of the soul energy in the surroundings. They need no personality otherwise. They have no purpose for personality except for transmitting the light in their surroundings. It means they have completely died to their personality, live as souls with eternal union with the universal soul. Personality is what one develops either to experience oneself or to serve others. What we intend to do through discipleship is firstly to transform a dark house of personality gradually into a house of light with the help of lighted personalities, and then gradually shift our awareness from lower centers to the higher centers, namely into the head. Stay in head and conduct the whole system only to benefit the surroundings. As long as persons grow for themselves, the shades continue to be. When the growth is for oneself, the growth of personality is largely for oneself. Such growth is not seen as growing in light. Growing oneself should culminate into growing for the sake of others. As abilities grow, if these abilities are surrendered or offered to uplift the surroundings, such personalities tend to get more and more light. Personalities that grow and equip themselves for their own sake tend to be or continue to be selfish. As long as one is setting one's own house right, one cannot say he is really growing in terms of what the higher circles expect from. If your house is beautiful, what is it for the neighborhood? If your house is beautiful, what is it to your neighborhood? If your personality has grown well, what is it to the surrounding life? Kindly think of it. As we grow in abilities, concurrently we have to grow in transforming those abilities into service to the surrounding life. When that happens, the center moves from within to outside, to without. From center to circumference, when the personality transmits through acts of love, acts of goodwill, acts of service, then the personality tends to be transparent. A transparent personality is but the personality through which the light shines forth. When a personality is unable to serve the surroundings, however excellently it grows within, it is only for its own ends. For its own ends means for the purposes of personality only, but not for the purposes of the soul. Most of us, when we set our life in a good order, with good economics, with good family, with good social recognition, with some placement in the society, no doubt it is an organized personality, but that's no measure for the masters of wisdom. The measure is, as your personality organizes itself and tends to be able, to what extent it is relevant to the surrounding life. It is through that relevance the measure of the light in the personality is made. Therefore, one's own growth cannot be seen as one's own knowledge, one's own ability. One's growth is seen as one's own love for the surrounding beings and the upliftment that one commits to for the benefit of the surroundings. No one can walk into the community of the brotherhood unless one has served substantially the surrounding life. As much as one serves with the help of the knowledge gained and the rhythm gained, the magnetism gained, and the electrical brain that one gained, all that we gain in terms of ability, in so far as they are offered for the benefit of the surrounding life, then such personalities are considered as the transmitters of light on the planet. It is in them that the hierarchy is interested. It has been a great illusion in the human minds that growth is measured in terms of personal growth. But in terms of master's understanding, the growth is growing into impersonality from personality. As much as one is impersonal, so much is the light that he absorbs into himself. As much as one is personal, he personalizes even the light that comes to it. He personalizes the knowledge. He personalizes the abilities. It is what we call self-appropriation. All that is given is only intended for oneself. But when the divine bestows the abilities, the knowledge, and the related light, it intends that it is transmitted equally well into surroundings. By such transmission only, personalities tend to be transparent. There is no other way for transparency. Whatever is received when it is held with oneself, that holding obscures the light and no transparency results therefrom. As is given, so is it to be transmitted. That is the secret of sun shining in the sky. The most illumining being that we see in the firmament is the sun. It is so because as he receives, so he transmits. He retains not for himself anything. He thinks not of himself. He thinks of the solar system. He thinks of the beings in various planetary systems. He thinks of the life of the solar system and its upliftment. And he retains nothing for him. It is by this the sun shines forth in the firmament in such a great brilliance, which is much more than the brilliance of a diamond. Therefore, building character is one thing, and offering that character to the benefit of surrounding life is what is the basic requirement for discipleship. Informing oneself about the cosmogenesis, about anthropogenesis, is one thing. It broadens our comprehension. Invoking light is not for self. It also helps us to see the corners of darkness in us, the shades in us, the limitations in us, which we can gradually eliminate. But what is important is that we stand out as an instrument of light for transmission of such light. That is why the books say that a person transforms himself to be a disciple when he stands out as a lighted house. Not a lighthouse. A lighted house. A lighted house can be seen clearly in every dimension. Nothing is in shade. Most of us do not know that what we think as the buddhic plane or the plane of light, it is that light which has no shadow. Normally light carries its shadow. But a light that does not entertain any shadow is called the divine plane, or the Deva plane, or the Buddhic plane. Likewise, in our personality, there has to be such complete transference, like a glass house, where all that is within the house is seen from without, and what is all without is reflected in within. Within and without are thinly demarcated, very thinly demarcated by the contours of personality. Such personalities are called the bodies of causal nature or diamond nature, or bodies of golden nature. There is a great program for each one of us who have picked upon ourselves the path to the truth or the path to the light, that we need to restructure our personality, make it more and more and more transparent through our attitude to serve others. And in that transparency we live and continue to live with consciousness, even when the body of flesh and blood falls, and then continue to live in such a manner that the light of personality becomes so complete that it is absorbed into the total light of the universe. Such are the steps relating to discipleship. We may keep changing our bodies, but our personalities continue to be the same. It is equally clear to every adept how we behave in given circumstances. Who behaves in what pattern in a given circumstance. Each one of us is distinct from each other in terms of our personality. And until and unless this personality tends to be soft, adjustable, malleable, taking to different shapes according to the need, always orienting to the light and transmitting the light, one cannot assume himself to have been anywhere near the brotherhood. As much as one thinks of himself, so much one is distant from the brotherhood of souls. As much as one thinks of the concerns of others, the sufferings of others, the requirements of others, the needs of others, and try to serve regardless one's own comfort, one's own pleasure, or one's own loss. Regardless all this, if one concerns about others, such personalities tend to be transparent. Other personalities just remain civilized personalities, taking care of themselves day in and day out, and associating with the books of wisdom, not knowing that seeking to know is not the solution. Seeking to know is not solution. That knowing shall have to translate itself into acts of love and of service and of offering. The offering has to be lifted up to such heights that there is a total offering of personality, which is called the total sacrifice. The total sacrifice of personality enables a soul to shine forth with a lighted house. Unless that is demonstrated, the program of discipleship is not complete. The age-old statement relating to discipleship is that you need to die to your personality. Only then you need to live as you would know the joy of living as soul. In the sense that you have an impersonal personality which is intended totally for the benefit of the surroundings. Such are the goals set in yoga. Such are the instructions as we see in the books that inform us of discipleship. And it is fortunate that we are all interested in knowing. And as much as one is interested in knowing, so much one is around the temple, though not entered into the temple. But as one demonstrates a life of offering, a life of service, thereby clears his own house. When your house of personality, is filled with material, there cannot be much shine in that house. When all material within the personality is cleared, and the shade of your own thinking about your own personality is cleared, that's the final step. One should be forgetful of one's own growth due to his immersion into serving others. There is what is called self-forgetfulness in working for the surrounding life. Until there is such self-forgetfulness of oneself, one continues to have the shade upon oneself. He himself forms a shade for himself, and he cannot see, though he may be in the illusion of experiencing many things. It is for this reason we gather here only to recollect the tasks that we have to undertake for ourselves, step by step. And to fulfill all these tasks, the experience of the hierarchy in relation to humanity is that it takes fairly 777 incarnations if one is on the track. If one digresses from the track, it takes longer incarnations. It's not easy to sacrifice one's own personality. And until personality is completely sacrificed, there is no birth of the soul in its complete dimension. Complete death of personality results in complete shining forth of the soul. As much personality is offered on the altar of service, so much this soul shines forth. But as long as the personality thinks of the self, so long as the shade falls and the soul is not realized. So these dimensions are very in a way self-annihilating. When we say self-annihilation, we refer to annihilation of personality, which is but the lower self. When the shade is more, when the phantom or the shade is more than the very image, then one cannot see one's own image. Therefore, this solstice cautions us all the time that we walk into a period of 4 months where we can rebuild our personality in a manner that it is better than last year. Each summer solstice offers an opportunity to commence the program of restructuring one's own personalities with the fresh energies that the solar god offers during that part of the solar year, which commences from the entry of Sun into Cancer and concludes as the Sun enters into Scorpio. These 4 months are seen as most important for rebuilding one's own personality, in the sense that you tended to be more and more transparent and less heavy and material oriented. As much as one thinks of oneself, one adds a shade to oneself. As much as one thinks of others' requirements, needs, and shares and cooperates in their hours of sorrow or pain or necessities, so much one is relieved from the material conditioning from within. We need to take stock of these situations as we start entering into Cancer from tomorrow. And we have the longest day tomorrow. Thereafter, slowly, the light reduces. But as the light reduces, we can supplement the reduced light with the light of the teacher. Because the teacher does not suffer from the activity of light and shade. And hence, as we walk into the divine arch as it is called, from Cancer to Capricorn, one is required to be in good association with the teacher, so that he continues to walk in light while he is walking in shade. From Capricorn to Cancer, the solar year is called the divine arc. And from Cancer to Capricorn, the solar year is called the royal arch. So the royal arch demands that you carry the king with you. The king is no other than a son of God. A son of God is a king because he rules himself and he protects others. And therefore a teacher, when he is associated with you, you can walk in light even during hours of darkness. A continued association in thought with a teacher of wisdom enables the needed transformations to happen in one's own personality. When the association is not, the transformations do not happen, since the mind drifts into the various aspects of mental, emotional and physical activity. So therefore the summer solstice also recommends to us that we make a fresh pledge, a reaffirmation that we associate with the teacher whom we cherish most and with whom we wish to walk hand in hand. So may that be so with all of us, that each one of us need to work with our own personalities, chisel them out to get into right shape, clear the material out of it so that it shines forth, and do not stand yourself with recollection of your own self, which forms a shade on it. These are the three dimensions. When carefully observed, one can gradually build a personality of light. We shall continue tomorrow, since we make a beginning today, and since tomorrow happens to be 21st June. All these thoughts have come to be for expression. Nevertheless, we celebrate the 30 years of our trust in the world teacher. When we say world teacher trust, the only understanding I carry is my trust in the world teacher. As much as one trusts in one's own teacher, that trust leads you to the world teacher. Because every teacher is but a representative of the world teacher. So our trust in the teacher that we are associated with helps us to relate to the world teacher. And the trust in the world teacher is a sure way to progress into light. So 30 years of association with the world teacher trust must have necessarily developed a deep association with the world teacher through the noble principle of trust. May that continue with us till we meet Lord Maitreya face to face. May that be so with all of us. Thank you.